This is Trophy Gold, a Wizard Part 3, the finale of this particular series. We shall see if our treasure hunters make it to the end, whether they figure out the mystery of the tower, or just get back to the tower from where they're at currently, some of them. When we last saw the characters, they got split up into three groups. Two of them got plummeted into the abyss and are having their own individual adventures in different places. Aram is presently floating around in a cloud of mannequins being crafted and overseen by a strange titanic spider-like creature with a skull mask, a cow skull mask on its face. It seems very interested in human anatomy. And then we last saw Esfehen floating down to a little island floating in the void, and where there's a house, a very quaint little house with a hearth fire burning and a family, mom, dad, two boys and a girl, getting ready to sit down for dinner. And they beckoned Esfehen in through they beckoned her in through the window, and that was the last thing we saw there. And Ferran and Rasay have managed to stay in the tower and are currently on the fifth floor. So I think we'll pick up with that, in fact. The room that, after you get through the little short corridor, you go into a room, Rasay and Ferran, that is, at a glance, a large geometric structure made up of pale blue tendrils looping in and out of each other floats in the center of this room, this kind of strange blue geometric 3D thing. And it's rotating very slowly, and there's a steady drone emitting from it. I don't remember how I did the drone last time, but this is how it sounds today. It's kind of a... And in the ceiling, there are large holes all over, and it's quite a big ceiling. And these holes are filled with pitch darkness. The light does not breach the darkness of these holes in the ceiling. Additionally, in addition to the door behind you that led you in here, there is a door to the north and then a door to the northwest. They don't have the lock holes. They look like they're the type that open up as you approach. So a few things to investigate here. Ferran, what do you do? You are muted.
I want to look closer at this curious tangled ball of tendrils and see if it, I mean, how is it trying to establish, if I can understand how it's floating? And is it suspended, or is it kind of magically floating there? Because this seems very unnatural.
Go ahead and make the hunt roll.
I don't think I really have a skill that will help me here. That's a 4.
Okay. Take your token, and you'll encounter something terrible, and you might also learn something, but we'll see about that in a moment. Rasay, what do you do?
Rasay is doing a whole bunch of stuff, like fighting this urge to eat everything.
Becoming one with
that struggling to not scream, fighting to stay true to her nature, to be quiet and try and observe and understand what's going on.
And occasionally speaking in gibberish as well.
And occasionally speaking in gibberish. But she has a hand on that horn because she feels like she's reached the point where, hey, we made it through. I don't know if we achieved the set goal, but we certainly are through the abyss, per se, that dark space.
Yeah, you did achieve it. You have crossed it successfully.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's going to try and blow on that horn to let the others know where we are.
Oh, what an intriguing approach. This is certainly going to be a risk roll. Since everyone has a stake here, I'd like to find out everyone's thoughts on what could go wrong here.
The sound destabilizes something.
We all hear her, but we all go deaf in the process.
Oh, jeez.
I'm gonna take an inverse on that. We all hear her, but she goes deaf in the process.
I don't know if I have anything to add. Those are all terrible outcomes. I will maybe say that you alert the wizard as well. So if you wish to proceed, knowing what could possibly go wrong here, Rasay, do you have a skill or a piece of equipment? I suppose the horn is your light die, your first one.
Yep.
Jack, you can make the devil's bargain.
No matter what, see that you've got the condition for hunger. I think no matter what, the hunger intensifies.
I'm going to put a finer point on that and say the hunger intensifies and you actually like feed the horn to yourself or to someone else or something else. But basically,
Wow.
the hunger intensifies? Do you take that or not?
The horn is it doesn't
magic
say what
item.
it's made out of.
It's true.
So I suppose that's certainly possible. Yeah, I don't like that. I might need this again. So I'll just take the one risk die, one light die.
One light die for now. If you need a dark die, we can talk about that later.
Okay, here goes. There's a 5.
Pretty good. I'll tell you the complication. The complication is only one of them will hear it. You get to choose, unless you want to add a dark die and try again.
Man, okay, let's see. Aram hears it.
Here's it. Very good. Okay. The horn. I guess we have to decide what the horn sounds like. Aram, you hear it in the distance, in an inky black void where you do have the ability to control your movement as you float a little bit, but you don't know where to go because there's no seemingly up or down. The only thing you can orient yourself to presently is this cloud of mannequins and this horrifying thing in the middle of it. But you do hear the horn. And you remember that Rasay grabbed a horn as, you know, in the tower. And so maybe you put 2 and 2 together. But at least gives you something to follow if you choose to go back. What does it sound like?
I think because of Rasay's sort of strange, garbled mess of speech that she's been given, I think it's just this hurricane of nonsensical words all strung together until they kind of create this loud, booming sound. None of them make sense together, but it's just sort of loud enough that I hear her voice in it.
The creature also jerks its head up at the sound. And it says, "Whatever could that be? My children are usually so silent. I have only ever heard my own voice for a millennia now, and yet here I am, hit with a veritable cacophony of voices, oral susurrations that drive one to a frenzy of excitement and titillation. And it begins slowly moving in the same direction. Aram, what do you do? I don't think it's aware of you yet, Aram.
If I see it going in the same direction, I think I'm going to sort of go. I'm going to try and follow with it, because I remember from last time I sort of grew wings from my beast ritual, and that's how I was trying to pilot myself or through this place. But I'd like to like stay close to it, but out of sight, sort of like, you know, those fish underneath like a giant whale.
Mm-hmm.
See if it maybe knows something that I don't, or at least has an idea of what this place is.
That's a risk roll. Alex, what could go wrong?
I mean, I think you might get tangled up and lost in the remnants of this, like the discards that are just floating around in here.
Do you have a skill that's going to help you here, or a piece of equipment?
So I do have I have persistence as a skill.
I would also argue that maybe you could use like this. One thing that doesn't get invoked very often is you can also use the environment to get that light die, and
Okay.
you're almost certainly using the environment as a camouflage, right? Like because
Yeah,
of these
absolutely.
mannequins.
Yeah.
So, good point. Just a kind of a good time to point that out. Okay, great. One light die. Rob, you can make the devil's bargain.
No matter what. The creature is going to try and follow to the source of the sound. It's kind of curious.
I mean, I think it's
wants to
doing
know
that
what it
anyway.
is.
I would
Yeah,
say
but-
no matter what, it definitely appears in the room that
Mm.
the two of you are in.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. Total devil's bargain right there. Yeah.
Two light
Taking
dice, go
that.
for it.
It's a 6.
Very good. Give me just a little bit of that scene, Aram. Like you sort of getting in position.
So imagine these mannequins are just sort of floating, and Aram is sort of sneaking across them, climbing across them, almost like a cat across rocks. And this thing drifts overhead. It doesn't really seem to fly as much. It just seems to sort of drift as part of the space towards this sound that keeps booming in the distance. And he sees that this creature has a sort of almost segmented belly, almost like as far as the picture I could tell, it almost has sort of like centipede quality to it. And he sees all these different mannequins almost stuck inside of some of its plates, and trying to make sure that he's secure and safe, he drifts up to one of those mannequins and uses it as sort of like a handle, if you will, to keep himself attached to this creature as it sort of drifts off into this void.
Before we check in with the Svehan, Faran, you're examining this weird geometric thing, and this, you know, it's pretty big. It's probably like the size of like your torso, right? And it's rotating around. It starts to react to the horn being blown. It starts to like vibrate and swell. But then once the horn's done with its strange garbling note, it eases up again. But whatever this thing is, it can hear, it can respond, it can react. What do you do?
Say, I think this thing is alive in some unnatural way. It reacted when you made that sound.
Risay says this whole place is alive.
That may well be. And I think I start to hum behind my mask to see if it will
Respond.
respond or react in some way to that.
I think it does. It has it has a slight tremble as you hum. Esfahan, this family is beckoning you in. What do you do?
With seeing no other course of action other than the void around me, I will cautiously enter the homestead.
The woman says, "Welcome, welcome. It's awfully cold out there. Are you traveling through the forest? Did you get
Yes,
lost from your party or some such?
yes.
Well, our fire is warm, and I've made a stew. I would like to think that it's delicious, but, well, I don't want to brag." And indeed, she does have a big cauldron on the fire with a stew that does smell quite good. It smells of rosemary and sage and meat. The two boys who look like twins, maybe fraternal, but they look about the same age and very similar to each other. They say, "You can sit between us."
I think Esfahan nervously glances at the cauldron, at the family, and she says,
No, I could not be an imposition. I'm just looking for directions to find my way home.
The father says, "Well, it's certainly no imposition, and in any case, you're going to have to ride out this storm." And when you look out the window, you see a snowstorm and a thick pine forest, and it's roiling out there. He says, "You might as well have a rest, and then once the storm clears, and once your belly is full, we can march out and see if we can get you headed in the right direction."
I see. Yes, thank you for the hospitality.
she kind of like sits down very nervously. She sets her walking stick by the door and just stiffly kind of like sits down, eyes darting back and forth.
The woman puts her hand on your hand and she says, "My dear, is there something quite wrong? Did you experience something in the forest? You seem a bit nervous."
Yeah. I've had, yes, you could say that yes.
She's very uncomfortable, like in like squirming underneath the surface, but she kind of feels the roiling hunger in her stomach, the churning pain, and she uses that as a grounding, and she just looks at them and says,
Yes, it has been a long and weary day of travel. What are your names? I am Esfahan.
They all look at each other and they smile and they say, "You can call me Mother."
I'm afraid I already have one.
It's just a term of endearment, dear.
Oh, yes, I see.
She ladles the stew into the bowls. The children are all, the two boys are kind of like, I think they're just being like, adolescent boys. And the girl who's younger, she's kind of like keeps looking up at you nervously, like this is very exciting, but she doesn't want to like, do anything out of turn. And she says, "I'm called Baby."
"Oh, I hate this so much." Okay.
Baby. Yes, I see.
She looks down at the stew that's being ladled into a bowl for her.
It does look very good as far as stews go.
Here's a funky little question as an oracle. Can I like read the alphabet soup here? You know what I mean? Like see if I like have
Read
people
the
read tea
stew.
leaves. Just basically, do I get any portents from the stew?
No, the stew is fine. It's totally fine. Like there's nothing
Oh.
wrong with it.
I don't believe you for a second. She will. Ooh, she's very hungry, but she's also nauseous from the smell of things. So I think that's helping like abate the feeling of like of wanting.
But it's
to
the
eat
first thing
this.
you've smelled in a while that's not sweet, right?
Mhm.
Although I suppose the void was just sort of cold and odorless.
Yeah.
But let's pick back up with the chamber, the humming, the horn blowing, the inky black holes in the ceiling. But also, Aram, it took you hours to reach this creature, but the creature reaches the sound of the horn within mere moments. And you can see it moving one of its long limbs. What do we have in here? First the sound of a strange chorus of voices, and now a delicate humming. I suppose this is an opportunity to really learn more about these people, about these creatures. What sorts of organs allow them to make such interesting noises? And he sticks the insectoid hand into a space that apparently it just looks like his arm is disappearing. But in the room that you're in, Faran and Rasay, you see a giant insectoid forelimb coming down from one of those holes in the ceiling. And you can hear something as well from up in the ceiling. What's in there? Hello? What are you? Where are you? Let's have a look now. Don't be shy. And the forelimb is just like swinging around in the room. And it keeps grazing that geometric configuration floating in the middle of the room. It keeps grazing it. And as it grazes it, it keeps it vibrates a little more violently. And you can hear it saying, "Oh, there you are. There you are. Come, come." And it manages to get a hook into that thing. Faran, Rasay, what do you do?
I think Varan is like backing up to the wall of the chamber to try and stay out of reach of this probing insectoid limb. And I think he's getting ready to potentially use his repel ritual to push it away. But he's also hoping, or wants to see how if it's going to pull this tangly blob thingy with it. So once it's got a hook, once it's hooked into that, I think he's going to try and repel it out of the back in whatever extra dimensional direction it came from.
Rasay, what are you doing?
Rasay is freaking out. She's scrunched herself up against the wall, and she's frantically sidling over to the nearest door, whether that's north or the northwest. Either way, not the way we came. That's the only important thing. Not the way we came.
We'll say north.
And she's waving Faran over as well, because she's thinking as soon as whatever this is pulls those tendrils in, this whole room's turning inside. That's what she's worried about. She doesn't want to be turned inside out with the room.
The door opens up as you approach it, and you can see over your shoulder that it's another corridor of inky blackness with a door at the other end, though not as long, a shorter distance. But that's what it is.
Skip door, next door.
If you make your way over to that door, it's the same thing. It's another inky passage with a door floating on the opposite end of it. And Faran, you get your answer in pretty short order. At a certain point, the limb clips this thing a little bit, sending out a spray of acid. It sort of sprays the wall behind you and sizzles. And you can hear it say, "Oh, what was that then? This is certainly an interesting development. I had no idea that your inner workings were filled with sacs of acid. That is something I had not anticipated at all. Utterly fascinating. Come here. I must simply get a closer look." And it's now trying very hard to like pull this thing up into the hole. Acid is starting to spray all over the fucking place. Faran, what do you do?
Repel, push it out,
Very good.
and hope it's kind of hooking the acid spewing blob, tangly blob thing with it.
I think it would be very interesting if Aram can hear you readying your repel ritual. Maybe you say or do something that Aram is familiar with. Aram, if he repels this thing out of here, this might be your only way to get back. What do you do?
I think hearing Faran then, Aram is going to leap off of the mannequin and try to like jet down towards the hole where the claw is going through to see if he can slide in.
Slide in. Yeah, very good. Okay. We'll come back to this scene. It's a very pregnant with tension scene, but we'll come back to it. Esfehen, the stew is going well. I'm called Brother 1. I'm called Brother 2. Do you like your stew?
I think she's been poking at it with a spoon the whole time. Hasn't actually taken a spoonful of it yet. She is overwhelmed, and I think she is going to then kind of like close her eyes, and like mumble under her breath. Specifically, she's using her ward ritual to protect her stomach, and she's going to raise the spoon to her lips and eat it.
It's all wasted effort. The stew is fine.
I don't believe you. Not for a second.
The father says, as you may have guessed by now, I'm called Daddy.
Oh God, it sucks.
So, Esfehen, you said?
Yes.
Where were you traveling to? In a storm like this, especially. There's nothing around for miles and miles.
I was looking for a wizard.
And Mother kind of like straightens up and says, well, I have heard tale of such in far-flung places far from here. We're a very simple land, a very simple people. We don't truck with magic here. We're people of the earth.
Yes, I can see that you are simple people.
She's looking at the window at the storm outside, looking around the room. Does anything seem like out of place, or rather like anything like stick out as like
There's a cat.
Oh,
Go ahead and roll hunt roll.
okay. I have interpretation as a skill.
We'll see. I'll give it to you. Go ahead.
Thanks. Is it 5?
The cat walks up to you and begins rubbing up against your leg, purring quite loudly. It has a meow that sounds a little off. Meow. And then it holds your gaze. It holds your gaze and looks at you quizzically. Meow. And then walks over to the corner of the room and curls up on a cushion. And then you hear in your head, you're probably wondering what this is all about.
Yes.
Let's cut back over to the other scene. Okay, Faran, first of all, let's see if the repel works. So Merwin, you can say what could go wrong here.
Oh, what could go wrong? Um, um, I don't know if anything as extreme as well, the easy one is repel. The hole isn't big enough for the creature to get through, so it basically explodes everywhere with acid everywhere.
Oh, so the repel causes the geometric thing to explode.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me. Let's talk about dice. Faran, do you have a skill that will help you here, or a piece of
Skill and
equipment?
skill and rituals.
Perfect. Okay, great. Love that. One light die, and Alex, you can make the bargain.
Let's see. I can't think of a bargain at the moment.
I have an idea if you don't mind.
Please
for
go
it.
off.
So last game you dropped something that belonged to the Sylvia person that was close to you. I think that when you perform this ritual, you'll get a glimpse when the thing is that's tearing through is pushed out. You'll see that one of the mannequins embedded in its body looks just like her.
I'll take that.
2 light dice and a dark die for the ritual. Let's see how you do.
5 dark.
5 dark. Does that make your ruin go up?
I believe
It does
so.
indeed.
Yes, it does.
You are now at 5
Yes.
ruin. Not
Mm.
looking great. You succeed. You're going to take some acid burns because of some acid spray, and that's where your ruin comes from as well. But otherwise, you're able to repel the creature away. That's going to happen. Aram, you need to escape down into the hole. I think what happens if you fail is the creature is like, oh, what's this? And just like plucks you off its body. So let's get dice on the table. Do you have a skill that's going to help you here?
Maybe not a skill. I mean, persistence, but because I was using my beast ritual to fly in.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I think that's well. Are you using a ritual right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine to use the ritual to go
Okay.
through if that helps. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think you should probably, if you're gonna like transform to some degree, I think you're using the ritual.
Yeah.
Maybe strength will help you as a skill. And so love that. I'll offer the devil's bargain too. The devil's bargain is going to be no matter what, you go crashing right into that geometric shape.
You know what? It's the last one. Let's go for it.
Very good. You have 2 light dice and a dark die. Go for it. 6 light. Very nice. You're gonna take a condition, acid burns, but otherwise your ruin doesn't go up, but you just take the condition. Go ahead and just give me the scene. What is happening here?
Well, I guess what is the repel? What does the repel ritual look like for Faran?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I think you just hear him kind of chanting behind his mask, and there's like almost like he's pushing on air with his hands to push this thing away. Simple as that.
So I think there's definitely some of that force that Aram feels pulling him with this cow skull headed giant titan creature, and but he manages to continue to exercise the beast ritual, and in addition to the wings that he has, he starts to grow sort of claws like talons, like eagles, and he uses those to sort of scale the length of the creature who's being now pushed out, and he leaps off of the beast towards this gaping dimensional hole. And as he sort of scales down and flies in, he sort of just dive bombs into this throbbing geometric thing that's oozing acid apparently, and just kind of goes crashing into it. And I think that's when the ritual ends, is when his wings are essentially just sort of melted away by the acid.
Isfahan. Ma. Well, I'll try my best to keep this as simple and straightforward as possible. I am what you might describe as a non-violent psychovore, a symbiote feeding on positive emotions. I have created this space, a warm, cozy family environment in the middle of a snowstorm, in order to feel the love, the mutual affection, the cozy, warm feelings that naturally arise from your species. I would love for you to join my tableau. There's
You're-
plenty of food.
Are you the wizard?
I don't know what you're referring to. I know what wizards are, of course. It is a rudimentary understanding of how powers in the world work. No, I am merely an entity that has always existed, an entity that very much loves to feel your positive emotion. And so I extend a welcome to you. Stay here as sister. Stay here, eat your fill, enjoy the camaraderie of this lovely collection of people, none of whom were previously related to each other, but who are now. And maybe we'll even find something for you to do. Have you ever found pleasure in domestic crafts such as knitting or baking or crochet?
Well, I did have a brief stint as a artisan of sorts.
That sounds awfully intellectual. You don't have to worry about such concerns here.
I actually I think with as she kind of like struggles to find the word, she looks at brother one, brother two, baby, mother, father, or daddy, and I think actually when the cat or I assume it's the cat is saying thank you, is talking about how these people did not used to be related, but now they are. As Fan like studies their faces, do any of them bear like a familial resemblance to some of the missing villagers from Canny?
Make a hunt roll.
Okay. Interpretation?
Sure.
Yeah, take it. Awesome. Love that for me. 6.
6. No.
Okay, cool. I think it's Feihen is contemplating this for a moment. But she says, you described yourself as a psychovore. You've been around. I know of many monsters. Well, my mother knew of many monsters. I've never heard of your kind before.
Baby says, oh, you've got a little bit of stew on your cheek. Let me get that for you. And she reaches up and just licks your cheek.
Oh no. Span like winces, and I think she stands up and glares down at the cat and just says, I'd like to politely reject your invitation. I'm going to find my way back to the tower and get the hell out.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I think you misunderstood the situation. This was not an option. I was simply explaining the situation to you and extending the invitation in a manner of courtesy, but in fact, you don't actually have a choice in the matter.
How dark do I want to get here?
I don't know. We'll take 5 and figure it
yeah,
out.
cool.
Let's pick up the scene in the tower with Faran, Rasay, and newly arrived Aram. We have these two doors that open up into short, dark hallways. And we have this strange floating thing, which I'm not sure there's much else to learn about it, to be honest. It's just a geometric thing filled with acid. Like so much of this place, it's all a bit nonsensical or experimental in a way that we can't really understand. Let's just have that scene. What do you all do?
Well, Aram is thrashing about trying to get the acid off of him, and the floor, I imagine, is now just sort of a mess of acid burned brown feathers and flesh, and he's just sort of whipping himself around.
And I think, yeah, Ferran will kind of rush over to help him and try and somehow get the acid off him and just be like, Aram, where did you come from?
I'd like to know that. And is there still like a hole in the ceiling with a void, or?
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah, so looking up at the ceiling and seeing all these holes of voidness, he just sort of points up and goes, came from one of those. I don't know where those were there, or where I was, or what that was.
Rasay's keeping half an eye. Rasay's keeping half an eye on the door with the shorter passage, if there is one.
They're about
and
the same.
She's gonna come over and she's gonna hiss at Aram and say, "Where's Esfahan?"
She's not with you.
We thought she was with you.
No, I was somewhere by myself.
And what was that creature that was probing about in here?
I have no idea, but as long as it's gone and away from me, I'm fine being ignorant about it. Do you know where we are? Do you know how to get out of here? Have you found anything?
All exits are dark.
There are little doors at the end of those dark tunnels.
Seems like a maze, a labyrinth of. But if Esfahan is not with you, perhaps I know of a way I could find her.
Oh,
I have some knowledge of a ritual.
then fine, make it so. Make it quick. We need to be
Says
fine.
the
We need to be getting out of here.
Says the character at 5 Ruin.
Yeah. I'm trying to be here no more.
Yeah, and I don't want to do it before Alex is kind of done with that scene. He
3
has put it
tokens
out.
will bring Esfahan back, because that is a set goal.
Yeah.
Esfahan, let's give them
Yes.
some more runway here.
Yes.
So the cat says, regrettably, if you resist my offer, you will be put in the fire. And here you can see what are a preponderance of bones in the hearth fire of people who've been burned up in it.
She looks at the fire, kind of gives like a cold, frustrated stare back at the cat.
We always have trouble with sister.
You've spoiled my evening, and I feel that I might need to spoil your meal. I
I think Isfahan's gonna take out her knife and just kind of go Manson here and just start stabbing the family members, killing them, carving them, and just really getting bloody with it, because if this thing eats positive emotions, she's gonna make it real negative.
They fight back.
I figure.
The funny thing is, as they fight back, they still act like very cordial as they're dragging you. They fight back by trying to drag you into the fire,
Super
and you
fun.
can be stabbing away. Collectively, they're an endurance 10.
Okay.
Please tell me how you're vulnerable.
I'm quite outnumbered.
Fair enough. Go ahead and roll your weak point.
It's 5.
Not great.
Not great.
Go ahead and roll combat 1. See if the
Yep.
first round goes poorly or not.
Yeah, right. Let's see what happens. Combat 1. It's a 2.
2. Very good. I think the way this looks, I'll let you kill one of them straight away to kick
Sure.
off. Who?
Sure. Daddy.
You just plunge the knife, or describe it. What do you do?
Yeah, I think she like takes her curved ritual blade out from her belt, spins around, and just quickly in an arc slashes it across his open throat.
As his blood is spraying on Mother's face, she says, "So where were you headed out again in this snow? The storm is a real barn burner." Just blood spraying all over her.
Yeah, just stabbing. Yeah, Isfahan does not stop. She is going to persist.
And Brother 1 and Brother 2 say, "Mother, I feel that I have to raise a concern about what's going on here." "What is that?" "I think that our guest doesn't want to be here. And if she doesn't want to be here, then she has to go in the fire." "Well, let's take a family vote," as Daddy is like dying, like gurgling, choking on his own blood and falling down. He does manage to vote for in the fire, though, before he dies. And we go to the second round.
Very good. 2 dark dice. Love that for me. Yeah, why not? Okay, if it's a 5, I will increase my ruin by 1. I will take the hit.
They
But
manage
that's
to get
not-
you in the fire a little bit. What does it look like? What's the struggle like here?
Yeah, I think that she like goes to drive the blade into the bellies of one of the brothers, and like gets it in there, but is kind of like Mother comes up from behind and grabs her by the shoulders, speaking very endearingly and like regretfully, like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but you have to go." And begins to pull her into the fire. I think they actually get her to her Isfahan to her knees, and they manage to like one of the like baby grabs her arm with the knife that's still dripping kind of like blood from the fresh wounds, and like she, I guess, Isfahan's struggling against it and just like pushes her hand into like the embers, the coals of the fire, and Isfahan just like screams and like struggles, so she's got these like burns going on over her arm and hand.
And the little girl, as her hand is burning up, she says, "Don't you want to be my sister? My big sister? I'm baby." Go ahead and roll 3 dice.
Yep. That is a 9 plus a ruin increase. I will mark armor on this one.
Very
I'm going
good.
to mark my amulet of protection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me
I
the
think
scene.
she Isfahan like slams her head backwards into Mother's nose, which lessens the grip a little bit more, so Isfahan's able to like wrench her hand out of the fire, which is burnt and blistering over. She managed to stagger back to an opposite corner of the room, holding her arm, grimacing in pain. And one of the brother two has just like grabbed a fork from the table and is just calmly like walking over towards Isfahan, and just is like just begins to poke at her with it, just and then brother 1 runs over as well to like clutch and grab at her ankles. Mother, blood streaming down her now reddened nose, walks over as well and just like goes to very simply grab her. There is a flash of light from underneath Espehan's cloak. There's a little burst of force and dust that is displaced as the three remaining family, or the four, boom, like kind of like get shoved back a bit by this burst of arcane protection.
They all start singing a song, a little working song, like a shanty, as they go back to trying to grab you. Let's have another round. Let's see if this is the one.
Right? Might as well see how this goes. 10 plus 2 ruin increases. Once more, I will use armor.
But you will eventually.
Mm-hmm.
We'll come back to this scene.
Yeah.
Let's check in with the others. Think about how you're gonna ice the rest of this family. Aram, Rasay, Faran, doors to be opened. What are we doing right now?
I say the way forward must be better. It's just a quiver of hope. The way forward must be better than the way back.
Well, then we go forward, and Aram will go forward.
North or northeast or west, rather?
So back on the first floor, how did we come up? Was it through the north door, or was it through?
How did you come out of how did you enter the tower, or?
No, how did we get up into the second floor? How did we progress? Was it through the north door, or?
Oh, yeah, it's a northerly direction generally moves you up the
Yeah,
tower.
so then Aram would just want to keep going north.
Okay. Well, you're at one of these little darkened corridors. It's much shorter than the one that you used to get into this room. You could maybe even, like, with a good healthy jump, reach the other door if you were too scared to walk across it. What do you do?
Is it just like a regular pull door, or do I have to like insert things in it?
No, it's one of the ones that opens automatically on the other side.
Yeah, then I'm going through it, seeing what's on the other side. If I smell or see anything that's alarming, I'll call out to the others. But
You're
I
gonna
think
just
he's just
trust
sort
the
of on a
floor.
warpath.
You're gonna just trust the floor. That
He
you
is
can
on a
walk it?
warpath. He's not very bright. He's
If you just
persistent.
if you march directly across, it's perfectly safe, and you get to the
Yeah.
other side. Do the other two of you follow, or do you go to the other door?
I think
Go ahead.
I don't think we should separate again. Let's
No,
stay
no.
with Aram.
When you get across the way, that door opens of its own accord again. And now you see something that is really alarming. A room that is entirely, completely pitch black. There are doorways. There's the one that you're coming in through, but 2 others as well. These doorways are hanging, though. They're suspended in the darkness by what look to be ropes, I guess. But the ropes, they have a weird segmented quality to them, these ropes. But apart from the ropes and the doors, you can't see anything in the blackness.
No,
And it's a
other
vast, large space. No walls, no floor. What do you do?
So in the same way that Aram had sort of mini activated his beast ritual to give himself like eyes that could see in the dark, can he do that again here? And if so, is he able to find any kind of?
You will quickly realize that the dark is magical darkness.
Okay.
And so torchlight and other things like that. Nothing that would penetrate darkness normally penetrates it.
Got it. Okay. Are one of these ropes like within touching distance?
The one that is suspended to the doorway that you're in. The
Just wanna
doorway
touch it.
the doorway you're standing in is suspended by a rope.
Oh. So I touch the rope, see what it is.
As soon as you touch it, you're the only one in the doorway. It jerks up, jerks the whole doorway up, leaving the other two standing out in the inky black hallway. And you are being like, you get violently jerked up in the door, and it's still going. What do you do?
Oh man. Oh wow. Okay. I mean, he's definitely trying to get some sort of bearings. I mean, I think he's got the yoke ritual. I think he wants to try and pull the rope to see if he can like provide some resistance to try and stabilize it.
I like that. Rob, what could go wrong here?
The worst rope burns.
Like your hands are eviscerated.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. Do you have a skill or a piece of equipment that will help you here?
I've got strength.
Okay, that sounds good. Alex, you can make a devil's bargain.
I think for Aram. Oh, devil's bargains are hard for me today for some reason. I think I'll go very simple. You'll just, as a consequence either way, take a form of harm as a condition. I think that'll just happen regardless because of the intensity of the scene.
Yeah, I'm fine
Yeah,
with that.
it can't be ruined, but it'll be a condition of some sort.
Yeah.
2 light dice. And I think a dark die is automatic here because of
Yep.
the inherent danger of the situation.
And the ritual.
Oh, and the ritual as well, yeah.
Oh shit, 2 6s.
Hey, very good. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna give you I'm gonna make it so that your hands are kind of chewed up, but you're able to quickly invoke the yoke ritual to cause the door to stop going up. What does it look like?
We saw a little bit of it, I think, with the first session, but the ram style, or like the ram horn style tattoos on the side of his head sort of glow with this like embery yellow gold color, and the veins in his arms, we can't really see it because he's covered up, but we see like little hints of glow from his body, like his vascular system starts to sort of glow that same color beneath his skin, and he just yokes down on the rope, trying his hardest to pull it. We can already smell the scent of burning flesh as the rope sort of starts to cut through the flesh, but he just sort of grounds himself, pulling on it as much as he can to try and like give it some stability.
Nice. It's got pulled up a little bit, and when you look into it, it now leads into a different room.
What's the room look like?
The room that it deposits you in is huge and empty, and it's not magically darkened like the other space was, but it is a large sort of dark room, but the back wall has been cleaved away to reveal some of the black expanse, and there are 2 enormous pale eyes staring at you.
I don't like that. But I think Aram is bold. He's gonna step forward, and I think I'll just very flatly call out, "You there? Where's the wizard?"
When you step in, the door goes back down to the other 2 into the inky black space. You have no idea where Aram is. Faran, Rasay, what do you do?
What did he do?
Rasay's just looks at Farad and shakes her head.
We have to find him. And I think Farhan is just going to rush out into that black room with the ropes hanging down and just frantically calling for Aram and looking for him.
Do you go to, there are two other doors suspended by ropes, one on the west and one on the east. Which one do you go to?
East.
If you go to the east, that door opens up into the room Aram is in. You see Aram standing in a room.
Rasay, he's over here.
I follow the sound of his voice.
Indeed. Esfehen, how does this scene end in the house?
Yes. So as Fayhen manages to stab down into brother 1 and brother 2 in rapid succession, in quickness, cutting one of their bellies open as well to spill viscera to the floor, and then lunges at Mother, and actually manages to in a struggle shove Mother over, and her head or her neck hits the side of the table with a crack and just like falls to the ground like limp as eyes roll back. And the last one is Baby, and I think Baby jumps up onto Esfehan's back with a little like kitchen with a little like table knife and just begins like stabbed like into her like, you know, just the meat of her arm and like shoulder. And I think what Esfehan does, and how the I marked my stiff wool cloak to protect me. I think what happens is that as she's like flailing around, Esfehan grabs her cloak and like in like, you know, an over the head kind of like motion, take both Baby and the cloak off, and just like very hastily like bundles Baby in the cloak and then just throws it in the fire.
You're catching your breath.
Coated in blood.
Well, that was certainly not how I thought this was going to end. I'm rather disappointed. I do not find any particular satisfaction or comfort in your violent urges, nor the shame that I know you feel from having wrought such destruction, wanton and uncalled for, upon this lovely family.
They were not real. They were not real. Now I'm going to leave, and you cannot stop me.
How about a trade?
What do you want?
You recall to me your happiest memory. A mere bonbon in terms of the sustenance I require, but nevertheless, something I will not turn down. And in exchange, I will take you back to wherever you need to be. And I do know something about the wizard that I will share with you.
In exchange for my happiest memory.
Yes.
Which I assume what? You'll take it from me that I'll not be able to remember it ever again?
Don't be silly. You might not enjoy it as much afterwards, though. The pleasure of it becomes mine.
Fine.
Meow.
I think she thinks for a minute on what her happiest memory is. I'll tie this to my drive. She thinks back on her mother. Her mother was not quite a scholar, not an academic, but someone who studied monsters, beasts, horrific things that would come out of the forest. And that's why she wants to ascribe her mother's name in the Azure Archives, specifically in a part of the archives where they dedicate a lot of where they take down the names and descriptions of the most unique creatures to come out of the Kaldur, but also they breed new and exciting creations in that part of the archives. And her mother had a great fondness for the beasts and strange things of the forest. That's why she wants to have her mother's name inscribed in their breeding pit, so that perhaps her mother can be reborn in a unique, monstrous form, as she would so love to see. But her happiest memory is with her mother. It is the day her mother taught her the art of divining meaning from viscera. It is blended with a little bit of trauma, a little bit of disgust, but it was predominantly a profoundly spiritual experience of being guided by the wisdom of her mother, of hands digging into the still warm carcass of a boar, feeling the life in her hands, and her mother sifting through the gross elements of it and showing her the beauty in the macabre, in explaining to her and guiding her and nudging her. That stands out as the happiest memory that she can think of with her mother. They've been kind of an isolated group their whole life, but that was a moment of such profound self-discovery and appreciation for this figure in her life. That is the memory she will share.
Perfectly delicious. Seasoned well. Strange taste, I would say. Aram Faran Rasay, these two large, pale, glowing eyes in the void on the other side of the cleave in the room that you're in are getting closer and closer and closer. And eventually, you also see a Svehen stepping out of the darkness into the room, covered in blood and burns and looking like hell. And the two eyes, they speak. Or the creature that the eyes belong to speaks. The so-called wizard has a locked door in the tower, a very important locked door, behind which is its brood, its future generations. And then the eyes recede. Now there is a locked door, as a reminder, that you have not gone into yet.
Mm-hmm.
Back on the third
Wait.
floor.
I think Aram will call out to the thing before it gets too far away. Wait. I don't care about this creature's brood. I want to know how to get out of here. Do you know how? Do you know the exit?
The eyes are getting smaller and smaller. It says, I do not, but you might be able to bargain for it. And then the eyes disappear.
Aram, you must stay strong. We've almost reached the heart of this place. I can feel it. Do not give up.
I'm
now.
perfectly strong.
Then no more talk of getting out of here.
I beg your pardon?
We will leave once we have completed our task,
Which is?
finding the wizard and bringing an end to this madness.
Say, Isfahan, what are you doing?
She's just standing there, almost like she's waiting for them to address her. Like she's just standing there holding a knife dripping with blood and looking very bad. And she just kind of like just looks between them in the silence and just goes,
Hi, by the way.
No, you're back.
Yes. Oh,
Tucks the knife away and just kind of like looks at her hand and just like wipes blood on her clothing.
You had to fight something.
yes, I did. And it was messy.
She looks at Aram and just goes,
Where did you go? You disappeared. I disappeared trying to find you.
It's not important now. What's
Okay,
important is
fine.
it's apparently finding a wizard.
This wizard. It is not a wizard. Of that I am certain.
The wizard that I've ever encountered myself. This is magic that I can't comprehend.
This is something different. This is something that is older than mere magic and wizardry.
This room that you're in, one side is cleaved away into darkness, but there is a door to the north and a door to the south in addition to the door you came through. Rasay, what do you do?
Do the doors open as I approach them?
They do indeed.
Is it darkness within?
No. Well,
Oh,
north, no. The north door, at a glance, the north door is back to being a gloopy blue room. And there are a number of objects all over the floor covered in the blue goo. At a glimpse, you see, looks like a sword and a severed hand, a large key, maybe a few other things. To the south, that door. That one's dark. With no doors, just a dark room.
Esfahan.
Yeah, yes.
And Ram will sort of gesture over towards the objects. You know omens. What do you make of this?
Do you go in there?
yeah, she'll glance in.
If you just glance in from the doorway, you see a number of things. Go ahead and make a hunt roll.
Love that for me. I assume 2 because I got some skill like omens, interpretation, stuff like that.
I mean, it's just looking and seeing what's on the floor, really.
Okay, fine. If that doesn't mean interpretation, fine. Combat. No, not combat. Hunt roll.
Yeah.
1. 3. Yay.
Great. Something from the ceiling sprays you with a paralytic fluid.
Oh no.
Just you get sprayed and you seize up and collapse to the ground, convulsing. Rasay, you were the other person over there. What do you do?
can I grab hold of her to pull her back without going too far in the room?
The door closes up if you leave the room, back into the half chamber where you saw the eyes.
But we have her back.
You have her back, yeah.
Okay.
She's just paralyzed.
Okay. Rasay growls. If there's a locked door, we might need the key that's in that room.
And we find it. And Aram will just, when he says that, he just sort of like casually glances down at Esfahan, who's on her back convulsing.
Convulsing, seizing, just like gritting her teeth, probably foaming at the mouth a little bit, I imagine.
Indeed. Veron, what are you doing?
I'll come over and see if I can help Esfahan to recover, I think.
Yeah. How? What do you do?
Just kneel down next to her and hold her still to stop her convulsing and speak to her. What happened? Calm, calm. Be still.
As she's frothing at the mouth, I would like to, if possible, and with Alex's permission, this would only be mechanic. I'm not looking for like a, I'd rather narrative, not looking for mechanical benefit. But I want to take her cloak, tear it off her, and sort of
Okay.
just put it over my head and go inside to look around.
Oh, so
Yeah,
you don't get sprayed.
Totally fine. Totally fine.
Yeah, you can. I like that, Aram. It'll be a risk roll to navigate the space safely. I think obviously what could go wrong is the cloak is not enough protection and you get hit with a paralytic and you're not close enough to the exit to be pulled out. You have a light die from the cloak. Who has a devil's bargain? I'll take the first one that I get.
I think even though it can't spray onto you, something gets on top of the cloak and you end up bringing it back out of the room.
Dude, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
You
Oh
got 2 light
boy.
dice. 2 light dice for now.
That's a 4.
Very good. You succeed. You go into the room. There are a number of things sort of like on the floor, arrayed in the floor. They look like they were put there with intention. And they have a thin film, a blue membrane over them, as if to hold them in place. You see some things, a golden bangle, a severed human hand, a fine longsword, though it's been broken in half. You see a key, like a normal key, but one of the teeth is a sharp, pointy blade like a stiletto. But then you also see another one of the keys, like for this tower, the round spherical keys as well. You do feel the occasional squirt on the cloak as whatever is up in the ceiling, which you have not seen yet, is like spraying you with this fluid, but you're okay. I do think that it seeps into your hands just a bit, making your fingers a bit numb. But otherwise, you're kind of navigating this space, this chamber, easily enough. I will also tell you in this chamber, there are 2 other doors, one to the east and one to the north, roughly.
And do either of those doors, are they regular keys or orb keys?
They have no keys at all, keyholes at all. Those are the
Oh.
type that will open if you approach them.
He's curious, but I think he wants to get the keys first. So yeah, he's gonna reach for both keys though.
Oh, the sharpened actual key and then
Yeah,
the
and then
orb.
the orb key. Yeah.
You can just take them. What's everyone else doing while Aram braves this room?
I think I'm still being held by Farhan. Is the paralytic continuing? Is it enduring or is it abating?
It'll abate eventually. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She's Isfahan is being held by Farhan still and slowly being able to like actually like swallow her limbs, just kind of like come back under control, and she just begins to like breathe heavily looks up at the impassive mask of Faran, and just kind of like wordlessly, her eyes just kind of like carry like an appreciation for it, even if she doesn't say anything. She's kind of like, and then she'll like sit up and like kind of begin to like recollect her, her composure as this is going on.
Rasay is watching Aram as he's moving through the room, and she's not using her ritual, but she's watching when and where the acid, the paralytic spray is coming down, so she can navigate a path without needing a shield.
Oh, I like that. Make a hunt roll.
I'm gonna go ahead and spend 2 of my tokens for treasure before I do that.
Okay.
All
I'll find a treasure for you.
right.
Oh, I'm going to say the treasure is you'll be able to, as you are like kind of testing your theory here, you'll be able to safely recover that gold bangle.
Okay.
Which is a magic item, by the way.
Okay. And that's 1 hunt token. 1 hunt. Where's hunt? There it is. That's a 3.
You'll encounter something terrible. The terrible thing you encounter. You're stepping carefully across this room, testing. You've been watching the pattern of these sprays, and it seems to be just the chamber itself that's spraying the fluid. It's not like a specific creature up there. It's some kind of trap. And you're managing it pretty, it actually has a pretty relatively easy to follow, navigate path. And your boot steps on something in the blue goo. You feel it. You feel the strange give under your boot. And then you hear there is a face under the membrane. What do you do?
Peace. I'd say tell me more, but I don't want to know more.
It becomes urgent. It gathers itself. It says, come closer. Come closer.
Is this is it just a face, or is there anything else? Is it
You
like
just see
head?
you just see that. What's the head? You see a head. Yeah.
Grab it by the ears and pull it.
You hear a sickening as you pull it out of the slime. It is just a head. And it begins just like feverishly. He can see you coming as you stumble through the inky dark. Yeah, we have suffered. We accursed 6, and we have been saved. Beyond the black veil lies seas of wonder and terror. Doors hanging in emptiness. And then it just dies. Esfahan and Faran, Esfahan, you're fine now. After a moment, after a little bit, you're coming to. You all can safely navigate through that room to either of the doors in it. You also have the spherical key, in addition to this other strange key. But you have the spherical key, which there's only one other locked door in the tower, which is the one that you, I believe it's on the 3rd floor.
Mhm.
What are you all doing right now?
I don't even know how we get back down to the 3rd floor if we wanted to.
Yeah. We could spend hunt tokens for it if we feel like it.
I mean,
I have a lot
I don't
of
have
hunt
any, but-
tokens.
I'm pretty sure you can just navigate your way back, can't you?
Oh, okay.
Because there was just
Can
like
we?
well, yeah, because like the 4th floor was just the sort of liminal space between
Yeah.
the 2 doors,
Yeah.
and then there was like a ladder that went down, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure.
Oh
I
yeah,
was just
and
trying to
that,
think of how to get back from here down though, because we pulled up on the door.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, but the others were able to join you, so
Mhm.
Alright.
if we go back the way we came, we should be okay, except
Mm.
I don't know how we get through the void without risk, unless there was another way.
Well, I guess once we're out,
if we
Are
all
we
want
coming
to
out of the-
invoke the new old rule, I'll let you spend
Yeah, I
three.
mean,
I'll let you
yeah,
spend
that
3
way.
tokens to get to that door.
I'm willing to contribute a token to the mix.
I'll throw in a token.
Sure, I'll throw
I don't
one
have
in.
any, but I'll support this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Rob with his 5 hunt tokens.
I have a lot of burdens.
So if you're going to spend 3 tokens, you can navigate back to that door that was locked if you wish to do that.
Yeah, that'd be nice to do that safely.
Very good. We'll fast forward to that. You're able to navigate these inky black spaces, these strange doors, various ladders. You already kind of have like a knowledge of how to navigate that longer black expanse between the 2 doors. And you make your way back to the locked door on the 3rd floor. I believe it's the 3rd floor. Yeah. Yes, it is. And do you put the sphere in the door?
Yeah. Oh, first, I'll give Esfehan back her cloak.
Thanks.
and
You shouldn't have.
but I did, and we'll put the key in.
The door, there's a susurrating suction sound, and the door opens. And it opens into a chamber, in the center of which is a statue carved from this same blue material. It glows dimly. It has the vague appearance of Faran, except the eyes are missing. This room, the only other feature is a corridor with no door off to the left. What do you do?
So immediately seeing this, Aram has already got high alert with what Faran was saying upstairs about we have to go find the wizard first. We can't leave before we do that. And so with that,
And now look at this. Here's a statue that looks
yeah,
like Faran.
Yeah. Aram will take Faran by the collar and just sort of slam him against the wall. What do you know about this place?
What are you suggesting?
Look at that.
This place has shown us stranger things than that. It's playing tricks on our minds. You know that.
I'm going to pull him off the wall and then drag him towards the statue.
Faran, are you going to be dragged to the statue?
I'll go with it for a moment, yes.
Then what, Aram?
And just sort of like forcing his head up to look at this mask. So this is just a coincidence then?
No. It is this place getting into our minds, confusing us, leading us astray, turning us against one another.
The empty
Yes, but you were-
sockets of the statue begin to glow They are shaped reminiscent of the little sockets that open the locked doors. If only you had some spherical objects to insert inside the sockets.
I look into Ferran's eyes and I go, I told you I'm getting out of here. And if we can get a little trophy dark real quick.
You want a little contest roll to take Ferran's eyes?
Yeah.
I love
if,
it.
If Rob's okay
Mm.
with it.
Sure.
All
right.
Let's review the contest roll. This is a good time to do so. I can't remember if this character keeper has the rules to it or not in it.
There is a reference tab, but it's hidden. Also, I think it's for an older version of the rules.
Okay. Well, contest roll. I'll find it real quick.
Yeah, hidden sheets. Yeah.
Let's find trophy gold, because we need to be really solid on the rules of this before we start entering any numbers. Let's pull this up real quick. It's fun though. We usually only see it in Trophy Dark, but it is a legit roll in Trophy Gold as well, even though it's much rarer in Trophy Gold. Here we go. When treasure hunters act against each other, compete, or want to inflict harm on each other, we agree what's at stake. Well, it sounds like whether Aram gets Ferran's eyes or not, right? Very good. Then each competing player gathers one light die if you have a skill that would apply here. So, Aram, what's your skill?
Strength and destruction.
Strength and destruction. Ferran, what about you?
I also have strength.
You do indeed.
Wrestling match.
You both have one light die. Very good.
Am I able to use my ritual in this context?
Well, hold on. So you get one light die for each mark of ruin you currently have. So Ferran, you have 5 ruin, and Aram, you only have 3. So right now it's Ferran 6 light and Aram 4 light. You take 1 dark die if the contest is inherently dangerous. It is. And then as many additional dark dice as you wish to risk. If you're basically gonna see how many 6s we get. Whoever has the most 6s is the winner. However, for each dark die that comes up 1, you mark ruin. The current tally is Aram 6 light, 1 dark, Aram 4 light, 1 dark, and as many other dark dice as you all want to add. Go ahead and enter that into the die roller. Whenever you're ready, hit roll. Or whenever you're ready, say so, then we'll all hit roll together.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Roll.
That's bad.
It is bad. Not for you though. Ferran, you came out okay.
Except that I got 3 1s.
But
Yeah.
it's only the dark die ones that count.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ferran, you got 1 6. Aram, you got no 6s. The die roller was very unkind to you, Aram. And
2
you
darks on 1.
And you got 2 1s as well, which puts you at what ruin? 5 ruin. Ferran, you will win the contest. You will not have your eyes removed, and you hurt Aram quite a bit in the process as well. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and narrate that scene. All right, so we have this scene with Aram attacking Ferran, essentially trying to take Ferran's eyes. Ferran gets the upper hand, though. Let's just kick it off. What happens here?
I think the 2 of us are kind of wrestling back and forth. Or, once Ferran realizes what Aram is trying to do, he starts to fight back and push him away. And they go back and forth because they're both very strong. But then there comes a point where Aram just kind of mutters an incantation under his breath, and Aram is flung across the room by some kind of force and slams into the wall. And
also too, just because I took 2 points of ruin, I slap my back smacks against the statue and then ricochet as I sort of just fling and then just smack into the wall.
Esfahan, say this all happens in seconds, this violent burst. The statue is already dissolving into a puddle of blue goo. Let's just pick up the scene with the four of you there in this moment.
Hide
Rasay-
me from the foolishness of old men. Ah,
Rasay is. She thinks she's yelling, "Stop, stop," but it's only coming out a whisper.
I think Ferran just kind of stalks over to stand above Aram and looks down at him with that impassive mask and just says, "Do not threaten me again."
This is your doing. This is why we're here.
I told you before, and I will tell you one final time. This place is trying to turn us against one another. It is not my doing.
Aram just sort of spits a bit of blood at his boots and starts to stand up, dusting himself off, and skulks away.
In the awkward silence, you all hear for the first time in some time from up above. There's a vent in this room. There's also a corridor off to the left of the chamber.
Aram is pissed. I think he's gonna go to the vent.
And do what?
He's gonna try and go up through there. He wants whoever's making this humming. He thinks it's the wizard. He wants to find this wizard and destroy him.
Someone will have to give you a boost.
It's fine if we can't do it, and if no one wants to, that's totally fine. I think maybe he'll just sort of like jump, futilely up at it.
Ineffectually, yeah.
Yeah.
Rasay, there is a corridor here. Once this blue statue melts into goo, there's nothing else in this little chamber. So probably whatever was being protected is down that corridor. What do you do?
He's gonna quietly. She's gonna look at her companions, and anyone that catches her eye, she'll take it. If they're busy, that's fine, but she's gonna move down the corridor.
Svean?
I mean, the only way out is through, and Aram is being quite reckless, and I think we just need to move, and she will follow after Rasay.
Ferran?
Also, yeah, with just a last kind of lingering look back toward Aram. Follow Rasay.
Aram, are you still jumping at the vent?
I think once he realizes the others are going, he's in no position to fight, and so he's just going to follow.
I've put a picture on the board of what you see at the end of this corridor. It's hot in a chamber that it leads to. It's humid. There are veiny, luminescent bulbs on the floor. The bulbs, egg-like, on the ground. The breathing from up above, you can hear it in this room as well, and it's much more frantic.
Is there any way to tell where it's actually coming from?
It's coming from the vents. There's another vent up above.
Does looking at these weird little egg things make it stop, like when I was looking at the lobster thing?
No, but it is clearly reacting to your presence in the room.
I think that Aram is going to take this as, like a creature getting frazzled, getting concerned. And are these orbs that are on the ground, these egg things, are they like translucent? Do they have anything inside of them, or are they sort of like opaque?
I'm gonna let you and Rasay both have hunt rolls because of your posing questions about the situation. So Rasay, you can go
Okay.
ahead and roll a hunt roll as well as you, Aram.
Does beasts or plants help?
Sure.
Is that two
It's a 1
dice?
for me.
Aram got a 1. You didn't have any tokens though, did you? Rasay, how'd you do?
That's 2 dice or 1 die?
2 dice for the beast skill.
Oh my god. 2.
Oh, not great.
Nope.
Quick as an arrow, whip-like tentacles shoot out of the vent, grab Aram and Rasay both, and whip them up into the vent. They're gone. Esfehen and Farhan, do you take another step forward?
No.
Hmm. What do we do, Esfehen?
Burn it. Burn it all.
I'm gonna pull out lantern oil from my bag and just begin splashing it into the room, into the egg room. And
Now that
hastily-
you know to look for it, I will tell you that another tentacle is whipping out of the vent to get you, but I'll give you a chance to avoid it. What do you do?
I attempt to avoid it. I will specifically. Where did it grab the others? Like when they were grabbed by them, did Where did it land?
Whatever it could grab. Yeah, there was no.
I think primarily just she's warding herself. It's a bit of a gamble because it only protects a small area, so she's just hoping that she's
It's
picking
enough.
the right area,
Yeah.
that it's enough. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Jack, what could go wrong here?
It top half, and you were just ripped in half. Cool.
Oh, love that for me.
Not wasting any time.
No.
Yeah, love that. Let's Dice. You have a skill or a piece of equipment that will help you.
Skill and rituals.
1 light die. Merwin, do you want to make a devil's bargain?
Well, this is for what challenge? I'm sorry.
This is for Esfehen trying to cast a ward over herself while she lights the eggs on fire.
Oh, geez. A devil's bargain.
Or if you've got one, Rob.
Yeah, my ears are open.
One of the eggs is within the ward.
That's
Nice.
good.
Okay. Any other options or?
I can't beat that. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's really
That's
good.
pretty good. Yeah.
I'll take it, honestly. So what? 2 light, 1 dark.
2 light, 1 dark. Let's see how it goes.
This. Ooh, that's a
Nice.
6, but my ruin goes up to 5.
Very well. But you succeed, so that's good. You're able to toss the oil all over the eggs, except for one, which is under the ward, unbeknownst to you.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Indeed. What are you doing in the meantime, Faran?
I think I may want to try and get Rasay back.
How?
I have a ritual summon. Draw a known creature to you.
Oh, how interesting. Do you want to give that a go?
Yeah,
Are you willing
I
to
think
risk your last ruin on it?
I mean, I kind of have to.
I think what could go wrong is you get pulled up into the vent and torn to pieces. Do you have a skill? You have skill in rituals, right?
Skill and rituals, yeah.
One light die. Oh, what's going to be this devil's bargain? Oh, the devil's bargain. You bring the wizard with Rasay.
Oh yeah, I'll take that 100%.
2 light, 1 dark. Go for it.
6 light.
6 light. Very good. It's going to work. You'll all be, well, with the exception of Rom, you'll all be back together. We don't know what's going on with the Rom. What does the summoning look like, though?
I think Farhan just kind of reaches his arm up toward the vent in that Rasay disappeared into and calls her name, but in it there's a kind of booming, echoing quality to his voice that isn't normally like that, and his his arm is up and his head lowers, and it looks like he's standing there straining every muscle in his body.
Esfahan, meanwhile, there are a couple of tentacles whipping at the ward. They can't get to you, and you are dousing the eggs in oil. Do you light them up?
Oh, absolutely.
Very good. You light the eggs up. Now the situation gets a little tricky.
Now it does?
Now it does. Aram, you get pulled into a room. Large, dark. You don't see Rasay. It's just you. And you see a face peering at you from the darkness. The face is insectoid, spider-like, mandibles, eyes. But it's wearing a pointy cloth wizard hat. And it comes out of the darkness. And it considers you. And it just lets out almost like a comical cackle of evil laughter. Like it heard evil laughter once. Or it believes this is what it should do. It has the hat and it has the laugh. Therefore, it is a wizard. And it lets out this maniacal but entirely fake sounding laugh. Ha 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 ha. And limbs launching at you from the darkness, snapping and biting. It is a combat roll. How are you vulnerable, Aram?
I don't know how to take on all of these limbs at once. Yeah.
Do roll
I'm
your
fighting a
weak
wizard.
point.
6.
It is an endurance 12. Go ahead and roll that first combat.
Can I do either of my rituals to lower the endurance at all?
I don't think you have time.
Okay.
You don't have time or space.
All right. So it's combat 1 to start.
Combat 1 to start.
I got this in the bag.
5.
It's a 5.
What does it look like? Keep going.
So I think he just instinctively calls upon his beast ritual. The tattoos light up. His body starts to get bigger. He becomes more ox-like in his appearance, almost this like Minotaur-esque creature. And he just starts swinging his cudgel wildly, tearing at some of the limbs that are reaching out for him, even biting into some of them, spitting out the fingers.
In that moment, you see Rasay deposited violently into the same place you're at. The wizard lets out another laugh. Ah, 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 ah. And just as quickly as Rasay arrived, shortly thereafter, Rasay is being pulled away by something else. It's Varan's summoning. And the wizard begins following, but not before it takes one more snap at you, Aram. Give me a round 2. You might kill it. You got close. 6 and a 4. Do you have armor? You're muted.
I do have armor, but I think given the nature of this character and the fact that this is the last session, I'm not going to mark armor.
Very good. Go ahead and describe your end. Make it gruesome and good.
So I don't even think like the wizard consciously attacks me, at least not from the front, but as it's leaving, just millions of its little grubby hands and pincers and sort of spines, they all just sort of launch at me. And as I'm sort of trying to like fight them off, they just keep coming and coming. They're relentless. And he's exhausted. He's been fighting for at least what feels like in the space, like it feels like 30 minutes, maybe even an hour. But at some point he just becomes so exhausted that he can't fight back. And so these limbs just start to jut through him, tearing off pieces of him, taking them with him. So when the wizard emerges, some of its legs are carrying, or some of the creature's appendages are carrying pieces of Ram with it.
Rasay, you're being pulled through a magical tunnel, a force of which you have no control over. With this thing, you're both being pulled through this, and it's fighting you on the way. This is now a combat 4, because you are essentially joining the same combat. Rasay, please say how you are vulnerable and roll a weak point.
Does a weak point change from round to round? That is to say, the number stays the same.
No, it
but
stays
how
the
you're
same.
Weak.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
always
okay.
the same. Yeah.
Okay. I'm disoriented then,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to move. I'm being pulled in multiple directions, and I suspect even if I land, I'm going to be dizzy and not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll weak point.
Weak point is please not a 6. Oh, just as bad. All right, it's 5.
5. It's now a combat 4. You might get 2 6s and destroy it on the way. Let's see how it goes.
Combat 4. 6 and a 5.
That is not enough, and you take a hit. What does that put your ruin at?
My ruin is currently at
3, so it puts it to 4.
Yeah.
Describe the round as you two are hurtling through interdimensional space. What's going on?
There's just sort of a tiny squeak out of Rasay as she's flung forward by this tentacle that yanked her up, and then Varan's whiplash summon wrenches her neck around in the other direction, and this thing gets one of its pincers and slashes her across the stomach, and she has a flashback to when she cut the orbs out of that woman, to the mercy that she showed, and she screams, and it's the loudest sound that she's made in this place so far. There's no scream loud. There's no sound she's made that's louder than this scream.
Risay comes tumbling back into the egg chamber, but also the entire ceiling of this place is blown open as the wizard is also atop the egg chamber. You see it in all of its massive, multi-limbed, tentacled, insectoid horror, plus this little pointy hat. And it's getting ready to do its ridiculous laugh when it sees that the eggs are burning, a good portion of them, and it starts freaking the fuck out. And it freaks the fuck out and lets out a loud hiss that causes a terrible blue cone of light to fill the room. Just a big, wide blue cone of light. This is its attack this round. Faran and Esfahan, are you joining the fight? I assume you are. Please say how you're weak and roll weak
Don't have
point.
much choice.
Yeah, I mean, Esfahan's pretty fucked up. I'd say that. I mean, there's also a lot of fire around here, so that's a number of ways. My weak point is a 6.
Faran,
Fuck
what's your
me.
weak point?
Mine is a 4, and I think he's just, recovering from having the strain of the ritual he just did is making it hard for him to exert himself in combat straight away.
This is a combat 7. Every ruin roll or every ruin point also equals a horrible curse from this blue light. Who wants to roll the combat 7? Why don't you take it away, Esfahan, since you're most directly provoking the creature right now?
Is it
Yeah.
would it be possible to blow the horn again to distract the creature? Maybe
I
lower
mean,
its
it's-
endurance?
I'm kind of into that. Let's see how this goes. Let's get this round in. You
Oh,
gotta
just yeah, get this one in. Okay, fine.
Oh yeah, get this one in.
7. Holy shit. Okay, here we go. That's a 9, but I don't increase any of my ruin.
So it's a 5 and a 4 are the hot numbers here, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're going up by 1, Risay, and Faran, you're going up by 2, unless you're marking armor.
I will mark my last piece of armor.
Very good. How'd it go for you, Risay?
I am at 5.
And you are taking a terrible curse as well. Oh, your curse is dissolving innards. Your stomach begins to glow sickly blue. If you do not end the combat within the next round and get immediate treatment, you are dead. Let's keep it going. I do like the idea of blowing the horn as an effort to lower the endurance. I like it very much. We're going to make this a risk roll. The failure condition is quite simply it doesn't work and you die from your dissolving innards, Risay.
I can
Furthermore,
actually imagine my innards being blown through the horn.
that's the horrifying to think about. Furthermore, you got your 1 light die from the horn. The devil's bargain, though, is it's a tough one. This will work, and there's no chance of rescuing you after this.
Wow.
I'll be happy to throw another devil's bargain on the table if you're looking for them. If you want to shop around a little bit.
Go ahead, Alex. I'm curious what it is. What's your offer?
Part of the wizard is latching to you. So like, regardless of what happens here, you carry a piece of what the wizard is within you.
I mean, it's already kind of happening anyway, but yeah, like from previous encounters. But yes, I like the idea of that. Yeah, Risay, what do you think?
I like the idea of becoming the next wizard.
Very good. You have 2 light dice, and I'm going to make you do a dark die automatically as well to see if you can lower this thing's endurance.
There's a 6 light.
That's enough to lower it by 2, so it's now an endurance 10. It's going to be combat 8. Faran, you can do the honors.
Oh boy.
That's a 4, 2 5s, and what was yours, Esfahan? A 6?
a 6. So
You're
I'm
good still.
Yeah.
No sixes. Ferran, are you dead?
I am, but we killed the wizard.
You do kill the wizard. That's true.
Rasay is also dead.
Rasay, we know how you're dying. Uh, Ferran, you get cursed with. Let's see here. What are we doing? Jelly limbs. You essentially just turn into goo, a wobbly goo. But you will destroy this thing. Ferran, kick off the fight.
Yeah. I think Ferran he knows this is probably the last thing he'll ever be able to do, but he just swings that morning star of his as fiercely as possible, and he just kind of charges into where the wizard is, but there's the blast of light again, and he almost just disappears in the intensity of this light.
Rasay, keep it going.
Rasay, desperate, she puts the horn to her lips and blows, and she can feel her stomach that she hasn't fed since she's been so hungry. This thing being as close to it as being as close to it as she is, she can't help but realize as she blows, it's eating itself almost, and just blood comes pouring through the horn as she blows out and just falls across it. Sort of the horn falls face down, she falls on top of it, just sort of mouth agape.
Esfehen, you get the crowning glory here. Destroy the wizard.
Final girl moment. So amidst the burning egg sacks, in the blue light, Esfehen is drenched in blood. She's fucked up. She look like her hair is just like in these dark strands, very like in like Descent coming out of the pool kind of thing, like just I think she is like running forward while it's preoccupied. She sees Rasay Rasay's brutal end, and she gets right up close to the wizard's foul fucking face, and she is going to shove her arm. I think she stabs into like one of its eyes, and like just goes like up to like the elbow, just plunging it in as like the eye fluid, and just begins to like spill out and gush. She loses a hand on her knife, but then her hand coalesces eldritch energy, and she does a bolt of arcane energy directly in its eye socket through its head, blasting out the back of its skull, destroying its stupid little hat. And the whole like creature like rears up, limbs twitching and spasming, just blood and ooze, pale light coming out of all the orifices as it like a bug just begins to like curl up and die.
Let's fast forward. Esfehen, you get an epilogue. I have an epilogue for the other characters that I will narrate.
On a mechanical level, I took everyone who died's hunt tokens and spend them for my money. I needed money.
Let's have the scene. You back at Canny. What happens here?
I think she kind of limps back to Canny in the sunrise, and comes to find the village is quiet, is still, and she walks to the store and walks inside at first light, and just covered in viscera, just sets crumpled scraps of wizard hat with chunks of insectoid chitinous flesh on the counter, and looks at the shopkeep and just says,
My reward, if you'd be so kind.
Very good. For everyone else, it's some indeterminate amount of time in the future, in some unknown place. We see Rasay, but now a Rasay who's been fused partially with insectoid parts, an arm that is chitinous, a leg that is just a mass of tentacles, plates of chitin over chest and hip. Rasay has spent time carefully reconstructing Faran and Aram, healing their wounds, sewing them back together, and then draping blue cloaks over them to make them new wizard's apprentices. And then we see Rasay pick up the pointy cloth hat and put it on her head. And that concludes a wizard. Let's go to Stars and Wishes. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Sure, I'll go. Huge star for Jack for like pushing Faran and creating the situation for that contest role. I thought that was really fun that we had this situation where Faran was determined to continue and Aram just wanted to get out, and that brought them to that point. I really enjoyed star for Esfahan's like murderous rampage in the snowy hut scene, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to use that ritual on Rasay, and I think that ended up, even though it was kind of a disaster for 3 out of 4 of us, I love the thought of Rasay ending up as the new wizard, the inheritor of all this, that it just carries on. And yeah, big stuff at the module, which was just weird. And I still don't really know what the wizard was. I guess we won't, but it was fun. I liked the atmosphere of it. It was extremely strange and confusing and full of flavor. And yeah, had a good time.
Yeah. My stars and wishes, or stars more or less, are the same in a lot of ways. Very eager to read this thing, very eager to hopefully get some better understanding out of it. Like, I felt frustrated, but in a fun way, of not knowing and like not having a sense of direction. But it added to the sort of paranoia that I think I was building up with Aram. And it ended up making a lot of sense in that moment with Faran. And so star for Rob for being down for that. And I'm glad that he won too. It like, if you're like watching the movie version of this, like Aram's not the guy you want to win, like, you know. So I thought that was a fitting sort of finale to that whole thing. And I liked the murder spree at the house, but I think what I liked most about it was the methodology behind it. The idea that if this thing only feeds off the good, positive memories, then I can starve it. I can just so happen to starve it by killing an entire family, but I'll starve it. I'll win. And so I appreciated that ingenuity there. And yeah, star for Rasay. It seems almost the cruelest thing for her to become the wizard. There was sort of like a innocence quality to her throughout the 3 episode sessions, that I felt really bad for her in a lot of ways, that she was sort of getting put through the ringer at least in the earlier sessions. And so like her becoming the wizard feels very this sort of like strange, I guess, juxtaposition between where she started and where she is. And started you, Jason, for a suitably creepy ending. And I'm obsessed with all these weird creatures that you brought out, but I loved the cow skull guy, the guy I was hanging out with for a little bit. There's a reference that I have in my head. I'll talk more about it, I guess, offline, because it's a little weird to bring up. But if anyone's ever seen the Chloe Sevigny videos from like the early 2000s,
Oh yes, yeah.
I got like vibes from that. It's my brain. But
Interesting.
it was great. Yeah. But yeah, I had a great time. Thank you for hosting this, Jason. Thanks to the other players for being down to clown and getting just wild with everything. And yeah, I had fun.
Yeah, no, this was great start to finish. It was I was the most uneasy this session, and it was a nonstop express train of discomfort and horror. Jason, really, you really nailed a lot of the just kind of the creep factor on this one was really solid. Like the not just like the outright grossness of like slimy, you know, sphincter doors and melting viscera and weird blue stuff, but also just like the cosmic weirdness of it all as well, and even the more kind of like eldritch machinations of that weird void dimension thing were very cool. It felt very a little Lynchian at times too. It's like very like you are perceiving like what you see is how your brain is processing this kind of weird thing. It was very cool. Yeah, no, Rob, I really enjoyed that little moment with Ferran and his Feyhen when he went over to like tend to her while she was like seizing up. I know there was kind of like this Ferran had been this kind of like mysterious character for most of the session, where there was like a moment of actual like tenderness and care that was like actually like, you know, aiding one of his fellows. It was a cool little moment. I love, Jack, that you went just all in on that. I'm gonna gouge out Risay's eyes and just be the villain of this session and go out like the way of dark. Because I mean, like Aram and Isfahan had a cool little dynamic last session. And I love it when like a character just fully goes off the rails and just becomes like I'm fending for myself, I'm desperate, and then just dies in the most pathetic way. It just gets like incidentally swept to the side. It was really cool. I second everything that we said about Risay so far, because her whole, like I said before, like she, like for the most part, had the lowest ruin score of all of us at the start and kept enduring the worst shit. And so it feels really appropriate to have her end up as the new wizard. And Merwin, I just really enjoyed your consistent like roleplay of her as a character, not just like the garbled speech, but just kind of her whole like traits and aspects. I don't know, she felt really like this like solid island of almost you know, naive optimism and hope, and we love to see that get crushed. And yeah, Self-Star for being a final girl, because that's kind of badass.
I a lot of people, most of the really cool stuff has been covered. Just to reflect for a moment on Risay, I think what everyone's catching on is the fact that she's a naturalist, and for her to become ultimately this very unnatural thing is where that's coming from, as oh my gosh, not, you know, that happened to her kind of feeling. I think that's where that's coming from, and it just feels right for this kind of adventure. So the other thing I wanted to call out was Aram's Jack's choice to have Aram die before his time. I've only ever seen that action being taken by one other player in my gaming career, where you can choose to live or you can go out in a blaze of glory, and you didn't need to, but it was the right feel for that, and I thought that was that was pretty awesome. Happens very rarely.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I Star for Start for the module. The module is really interesting, and I I will tell you that the module doesn't explain the wizard. You know as much as I know presently about the wizard, but not directly. I think there's a lot that's implied, right? Like the implication to me is that all this like connected dark matter, this like void space, like you got to see two of them, but there's actually like 20 possibilities there in the module, and a lot of them are like these sort of like entities in the abyss, in the void, and they're like alien entities with different motivations and different behaviors and different understandings. You got to see two of these entities, and I think the wizard is just another one, right? Like I think the wizard is just another one of these entities that managed to be in our world a little more directly, but is still connected to that abyss space. And so there's some like hints that like it's trying to like establish itself in the world in a way people might understand, and so it's chosen this guise of the wizard and the wizard's tower, but doesn't really know what it means, and so it's just sort of glommed onto some ideas and is formed. It got a hat. Like it got a hat,
the Mid-Journey wizard.
yeah, like it got a hat and just like like decided to run with it, right? And that's my interpretation anyway. What it really is just this like horrible alien being, right? But yeah, so the module's super interesting in that way. It's weirdness and its sort of ambiguity is part of the fun of it, and vagueness too, but in a good way. So yeah, loads of fun with the module. I really enjoyed just everyone's role play. I quite love the Esfahan's ending of like the descent, but like blue. Like it was like the descent but blue, and so like I totally get that. One of my favorite horror movies. And so that was really enjoyable. I second all the stuff about Rasay being the like from the beginning and to the end, like that story arc is the most like ironic and tragic, and quite good. And it fit with how you were playing her, Merwin. Again, star to Jack for in this last session, especially for like leaning into the danger and kind of making those like smart choices, those narrative choices. Really, really dug that. And yeah, and Rob, I thought you did a really great job of it was really interesting because like the group probably would have left the tower earlier if not for you, and I like that you kind of like were determined to like stay in the tower even though you could have left the tower. And I also really enjoyed that moment with Esfahan. I thought that was a really good moment, echoed nicely in the epilogue, right, in a certain way. Just good fun all around. This was obviously just a 3-shot, one and done characters, but it was still kind of fun to see these characters. I feel like we got some good, I would watch this $5 DVD horror movie. I would totally watch it. So yeah. Any other stars or wishes? Okay, in that case, this was great fun. Thank you all, everyone. Let's wave goodbye.